بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. It is Thursday, the 25th of August, 2022. And in our series, Reflections of the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 351. These days, we are discussing Al-Baqarah, verse 103, and this is our fifth broadcast in that series. First, apologies that due to some difficulties, apparently we weren't getting any audio on the Urdu broadcast. And we broadcast simultaneously on a podcast and a video and another radio station. So I think some people may have not received any audio, for which I apologize. During the short break, I've checked and everything appears to be okay. These broadcasts are brought to you by the Lahore Ahmadiyya movement or Ahmadiyya Shahid Islam. Sorry, I beg your pardon. These broadcasts are brought to you by LAISA, Lahore Ahmadiyya School of Education in Religion, which is a branch of the Ahmadiyya Shahid Islam or the Lahore Ahmadiyya movement. The Ahmadiyya movement was created by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, who taught us that although other people say that a prophet can come after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, this is wrong, because the Holy Quran says that the Holy Prophet was Khatamun Nabiyyin. And when the Holy Prophet explained it to his companions, he said it means that La Nabi Abadi, no prophet after me. So that shows that he gave the Holy Quran precedence over Hadith, which has been a long debate amongst the Muslims. So Mirza Ghulam Ahmad also said that when the Holy Prophet explained this term, his companions got very worried, and they said, "O Prophet of Allah, when a prophet passed away from among other people, they went astray. What will happen to the Muslims?" And the Holy Prophet said, "Now God will send reformers, mujaddideen, and they will carry out the work of reform." And Hazrat Sahib claimed to be a mujaddid in accordance with that hadith. But he said his distinction from other mujaddids which had appeared before him was this, that he was the person who was referred to as the Messiah and the Mahdi in the Hadith. And these things gave rise to some controversy and difference of opinion and so on. But the saddest thing was that those who were not Ahmadis started saying that Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad and Ahmadis are kafirs and heretics and so on. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad pointed to another hadith which said that if one reciter of the kalima says to another reciter, you are not a Muslim, then it is the person saying so who becomes the non-Muslim. So, Sahib also rebutted the theory of abrogation, which says that some verses are missing from the Holy Quran and some verses in the Holy Quran are abrogated, etc. He proved that this was nonsense. This was wrong. God says he has revealed the book and he will guard it. So how can it be that God is guarding something that is abrogated, that is cancelled? What's the point of God guarding that? And of course, Hazrat Sahib said that jihad is a duty of every Muslim. But he took jihad's definition from the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who, when returning from fighting, said Muslims were returning from Jihad Asghar, the minor struggle, or the minor jihad, to Jihad Akbar, the greater jihad. And then explained that the greater jihad is Jihad bin Nafs, a struggle with your own self, your own inner self, your soul, against your various negative desires and emotions. So with that, let us turn to what we're going to talk about today. Al-Baqarah, verse 103. And it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فلو أنهم آمنوا واتقوا لمثوبة من عند الله خير لو كانوا يعلمون. We only have the last three words of this verse to discuss: Law, Kanu, and Ya'lamun. Today we'll discuss Law and Kanu. So, let me turn to my notes on the internet. Law is a conditional particle, which basically means if. And or in Urdu, agar, Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ali Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh has translated that as Kash, or a wish. So he's done it idiomatically rather than literally. And the next word, Kanu, its root is Kaf, Va, Noon. And you see it occurring in the Holy Quran 1390 times in 3 different forms. 1358 times it's Kana, and 27 times Makan, and 5 times Makanat. And it's basically the equivalent of the English word to be. So, Kanu Yaksibuna in chapter 2, verse 10, they used to. Pama Kanu Muhtadina in chapter 2, verse 16, were they. So, were, are, will be as well. What is called is, was, what is called to be. Were you, you were. Chapter 4, verse 109. Man yakuna alayhim will be. So you can see it covers past and present and future as well. These are most of these occurrences. The list is a long one. I can't seem to be able to get to the end to see. So let's carry on. So this, as I said, does cover past, present, and future. But of course, a lot of the time it's for the past. But when it applies to the divine being, to Allah, then it means that that is not time limited in the past, or present, or future. For example, chapter 33, verse 40 says, وَكَانَ اللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمًا. God knows everything. It doesn't mean that God knew everything and now he doesn't, or in the future he won't. God knows everything. He knows everything all the time. He knew everything in the past. He knows everything now, and he knows everything that's going to happen in the future. Or chapter 48, verse 21. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرًا. And God has power over everything. So God has power over everything in the past. He has power over everything now, and he will have power over everything in the future. So the thing to remember is that there is this idea of permanence as well, depending on the context in which it is used. Another example of this may be when related to human beings. Chapter 17, verse 60. وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ كَفُورًا. And humanity is ever ungrateful. So that means human beings have been ungrateful in the past, they're ungrateful now, they'll be ungrateful in the future. And we see that all around us. What is global warming but concrete proof of humanity being ungrateful? And again, وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ فَطُورًا, chapter 17, verse 100. That humans' hearts are constrained. That is, they're misers. They're not generous. When it's said to them, make sacrifices, then they don't. It's like, God gives us everything. And then he says, okay, I've given you everything. Your next door neighbor is poor and hungry. Give him a little of the money that I gave you. And we hoard it and we say, no, this is mine. Well, what would you do if God didn't give you that money in the first place? You'll be in the same position as your neighbor. And this is what God is saying, that human beings are misers. And again, another example is chapter 17, verse 27. وَكَانَ الشَّيْطَانُ لِرَبِّهِ كَفُورًا. And that is that Satan, the devil, is ever ungrateful of the bounties of the Lord. So sometimes when this word is restricted to the past, then we have to see that it was like this, but now it has changed. And the most interesting example of that is the the verse of the Holy Quran, chapter 19, verse 29, about Jesus. The Holy Quran says, كَيْفَ نُكَلِّمُ مَنْ كَانَ فِي الْمَهْدِ صَبِيًّا. And they said that how can we talk to the one who is a child in the lap, who's an infant? Now you see, the traditional interpretation of that is that Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, Jesus Christ, literally was an infant in God's lap. And when sort of Jews objected to things, then Mary pointed to Jesus and he started to speak. Now, this was such a great miracle that people should have accepted Jesus there and then, but they didn't. But anyway, that's a separate debate and issue. Another meaning is that who was in the near past a child in mother's lap. Now, what that means is that he's very young. And this is what Ahmadis say, that it means that he wasn't a child in his mother's lap when he started to speak, but he had recently been a child in his mother's lap. Basically, what they were saying was these were old men. And they thought it was insulting that they have to talk to this person who's much younger than they are about religious matters. And we say this in Urdu as well. Kal ka bachcha. It doesn't mean that the actual physical birth took place the previous day. One time my mother called me and said, "Child, come here." It didn't mean that I was 3 weeks old or 4 months old or whatever. I was a grown man. And people started laughing and she just said, "Well, it doesn't matter how old he gets. To me, he's still a child." So there are many ways of looking at this thing, and we shouldn't become dogmatic and insist that just this one interpretation is correct. But I'm laboring this point because many times Ahmadis are accused of changing things and adding new and different ideas to the interpretation of the Holy Quran, etc. What I'm trying to point out to you is that this is a dictionary, this is a non-Ahmadi dictionary, it's a standard dictionary, and it refers to both possibilities as being the meaning that he was literally an infant in mother's lap, or he was a young person, yesterday's child kind of thing. And this is the greatness of Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ali Rahmatullah Alayh, that he did not do or say anything, although what he said was reformist and it changed the old ideas. But nothing he ever said was such that it could not be justified by looking at the traditional dictionaries and traditional sources. And this is one example of that I'm giving here. Then in the context of chapter 2, verse 280, وَإِن كَانَ ذُو عُسْرَةٍ, there is a long technical discussion. It means that if the person who has borrowed money is strained, his financial circumstances are poor, etc. And there's a long sort of technical discussion about that, which is doesn't really get us very further as far as the message of the Holy Quran is concerned. So I leave that as it is, and I take my leave of you with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep all of you safe and sound and free from harm. And I pray that in the English broadcast, we did get the audio. I didn't get any messages, so I guess that yes, we did get the audio. So tomorrow is Friday, so we'll broadcast our Friday khutbah. And until then, Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, goodbye.